Hi, Wildcats. It's me, Elijah, here with Bill Picard. I got a few questions for him. First question is, who are you?
Well, my name's Bill Picard. Been married to my wife for 40 years. We have 5 children: Casey, Chrissy, Quanah, Skyland, and Lori Lynn. And I have 8 grandchildren: Quanah, Simon, Kyla, Sydney, Cicely, Cypress, Skyland, Sunny. Who did I miss? I think that's all of them. That was 8. And I got one great grandchild, Caius Picard. And I guess I say I went to school at Highland High School and got 3 college degrees. All 3 of them were from Lewis and Clark State College. I was on tribal council for 16 years. I'm a licensed minister. Love family and enjoy like hunting, fishing, basketball. I guess that's who I am.
Awesome. Who inspired you as a kid? Or just, I guess, in general as well?
Who inspired me is my mother. My mother was Theodora Picard. Everybody called her Teddy. And what inspired me about her is that she raised 9 of us children and 2 of my cousins. So she raised 11 of us children on her own. My dad wasn't around, and like right now, today, most people have 4 or 5 kids and feel like that's hard work to raise 4 or 5 kids, taking care of them, school, clothes, feeding them, all that kind of stuff. Well, imagine raising 9 children and two a niece and a nephew. So imagine raising 11 kids and by yourself on one income. And so she really inspired me because she never gave up on us. She never farmed us out to other family members. None of us never went into the system, so to speak. She raised all of us and raised us all to be good kids, raised us up to show respect and treat others with respect, and to always take responsibility for what you do and how you do it. And then I think that she always, taught us to look up to a higher power, and when times get tough or whatever, to always rely on a higher power than yourself, and to never be afraid to ask for help. So she was pretty much my inspiration. Secondly was probably my oldest brother, Gene. My oldest brother, Gene, he was the oldest out of all of us, and he kind of took my father's position as in our family. And back then there was no such thing as child abuse. And when you did something wrong, Gene let you know you did something wrong with a swift kick in the butt or a slap across the back of the head. And he'd even sometimes grab you and jerk you around, and there's nothing you could do about it because, that's how you got taught to mind and not talk back. And then my brother Gene, he was an all-star. He basketball, football, baseball. He was a starter in everything as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, but had enough time to after school to go to work and do all those activities and help mom take care of us. And when he'd get his paycheck from work, he'd take $20 out of his paycheck and give the rest to my mom to help raise us kids.
Well, that's great. How did you enjoy your time on Neptic?
Enjoy, or how did I serve my time on it?
I just served your time.
I think serving on Neptic is something that a lot of people should do, even if it's just for one term. And because it teaches you to look out for others, to help others, to never think of yourself better or above people, and that everything that you do should be for the people. It shouldn't be for yourself, it shouldn't be for your family, it should be for the people. And so my time on Neptic, when I spent on there, when tough things come to a vote, I looked into it and studied on it and thought, is this going to benefit the Nez Perce tribe? Or is this going to harm the Nez Perce tribe? Is this going to benefit my great-grandchildren? Or is this going to benefit me? And if it was going to benefit me, then I could pass on it. But if it was going to benefit the Nez Perce tribe, I always pushed to try to make sure that it happened. And when I was on NEPTIC, there were some really tough decisions that came to the NEPTIC, to the council table, and one such one, and there was many, but one such one came to the table was the Snake River Basin adjudication.
Okay.
And when the Snake River Basin adjudication came to the table, the negotiation started. I was on the negotiation team. The booklet was probably that thick that we had to read through and study and figure out what, and when I read through it, I highlighted everything. And when I got to the end, I thought, is this going to benefit the Nez Perce tribe, or is this going to hurt the Nez Perce tribe? So I read through it again, and I talked to the attorneys, and then when I talked to the attorneys, I talked to other tribal councils from other tribes. I talked to my elders here on the Nez Perce Reservation. I talked to them and explained to them what was in that, what all was going on. And one thing that I do, what I compared that to, is when our ancestors were pushed into the treaties. When they were pushed into the treaties, the treaties weren't good for us. The treaties took everything from us. A lot of people think that the treaties gave us, but it didn't. It took from us. And when it took from us, the things that were in the treaties, our ancestors reserved. They protected those rights. They protected hunting, fishing, our way of life. They were protected and not given away. And so when the government was trying to take everything, they didn't want to enter into the treaties. But if they didn't enter into the treaties, if they didn't negotiate the treaties, we lost everything. We lost our hunting and fishing rights. We lost our everything. And so they went into the treaties and negotiated and protected all these rights because of that. The Snake River Basin adjudication, it was going to happen whether the Nez Perce tribe was part of it or not. It was going to happen. And so when we went into that, that's the way I went into it, was we need to protect the water, the resources, the fisheries for the Nez Perce tribe. And so when I went through it, and we went through negotiations with other entities, with the government and with the states and everything that we did, I negotiated and talked, well, all of us did, not just me, but all of us that was on NEPTIC. We argued the points and said, this is where our ancestors fished. This is where the water comes from. We're the headwaters. This is, and we protected everything. And we didn't want to go into those negotiations. But had we not, we'd lost everything. They took it anyway. So what we protected in Snake River Basin adjudication was what the tribe now enjoys right now. And if you go to the Nez Perce tribe and ask them, what all does the Snake River Basin adjudication, how does it benefit the tribe? They'll give you 100 ways of how it's benefiting the people. And when we were negotiating that, we had tribal members coming in there and arguing and calling us bad names and telling us, don't negotiate that, don't be part of it, don't. But what they didn't realize, if we weren't part of it, we lost it all. So we had to negotiate and we had to protect and so the Snake River Basin adjudication, if you read it, it's like a treaty. We protected what was ours and everything else was taken. And that's the same way with the treaties. What's in the treaties that our ancestors protected, everything else was taken. All the other land, all the other resources, everything was taken that wasn't protected. Reserved is what it says in our treaties. And so with Snake River Basin adjudication, that's one thing that we had to protect and reserve. And so I think that was a pretty big issue. And there was a lot of other things like that, but that's just one that's off the top of my head that I really feel that was beneficial to the Nez Perce tribe, and is still benefiting the Nez Perce tribe. That happened through back in the 90s.
Oh wow!
But it's people are still using it, and it's still benefiting the Nez Perce tribe and our fisheries and our water flow, and we get to negotiate how much water comes out of Dwarfshack each year, and how much water that they can keep behind the dams, and how much when we need water for the fish. All that is all protected under that Snake River Basin adjudication.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Like I was saying, how do you handle failures and setbacks in general, or just on NEPTIC in particular?
One failures, I'll talk separate. Failures, how I handle them is try to learn from them and go forward. Failures, when you do something, and I'll use basketball because we all talk basketball all the time. In basketball, I used to coach. I coached Lapway, Asotin, and cul-de-sac, and varsity. And what I always told them is you're missing 100% of every shot that you don't take. But every shot that you take and you miss, it's teaching you how to adjust your shot. It's teaching you, okay, don't go up against that guy. He's 7 foot. You ain't going to get around him, you know. So your failures sometimes teach you a lesson. And so that's what I do with life is you know, I think, okay, I failed at that. What do I have to do to adjust to make it better? I've got 4 college degrees, I mentioned that, or 3 college degrees, I mentioned that earlier. I've got 3 college degrees, and my 3rd college degree I got when I was a grandpa. And so had I just, my very first failure, which was at WSU, if I would have just given up and said, you know, I'm never gonna get a degree, then I would have never, but instead I went back to college later, got a degree, went back again later, got another degree, went back later, got another degree, and so if I would have just accepted failure and not done anything, I wouldn't have got those college degrees. Also, I'll go with basketball again. When I was young, I always wanted to dunk it, and I wasn't able to. I was too short. I'm only 5'11". But so first few times that I was trying to dunk it, there's no way I was dunking stuff. But I started working on my legs, started lifting weights, and there's this deal called kangaroo jumper that I used that over and over and over. Pretty soon I could dunk it. So I failed at doing it the first time, but I kept trying and trying. So I learned from my failures to do better the next time, and it was it benefited me because I learned how to do it right. And so failure isn't a bad thing as long as you learn from it and go forward. Failure is bad if you accept failure and just sit down and accept failure. But if you continue to learn from that and go, setback, I take that as a different than failure, because failure you can learn from and you can go forward. Setback is sometimes something that happens to you in life that's absolutely unforeseen. It's not your fault. It's maybe you were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And so a setback, how I deal with setback is I sit down and pray about it, and I really concentrate on what went wrong. How am I going to deal with this? Sometimes there's something that happens, and some of you might know, some of you might not. I lost 2 sons. One was 15 and one was 8. That's a setback in life. That's something that's unexpected. That's something that you can't do anything about. You can't run and say, you know, the ref was wrong, the teacher was wrong, you know, who can you go to? God, and tell him, you were wrong, God. You took my kids. You were wrong. And I did do that. I told God, why would you do something like that to me? You know, what did I do wrong? What did I? But in that setback, I learned to pray and to accept that my 2 boys are in heaven now. I learned to accept that, and I learned that that I can't just sit and dwell on that pain. I can't sit and dwell on that hardship. I've got to move on. But that don't mean that you don't have to. I cried, and I tell you boys, as men, a lot of us are taught, and I was taught because I have 4 brothers, that if you cried when you was little, they'd tell you, oh, you're a sissy, crybaby, you know, boys don't cry, stuff like that. So that's what you learn when you're growing up, is don't cry. But when I lost my 2 boys, well, I can't tell you, I never cried as hard and as much in my life. So I accepted that. I cried, but I went on, did what I was supposed to do in life, cried some more, kept doing in life what I'm supposed to do, cried. And then, so setback, you got to accept it, but you got to, failure, you learn from it. Setback is something that you can't avoid, you can't adjust, but you got to continue on. You can't just sit and dwell on it. You got to continue on. And the way that I told my daughter, Lori Lynn, is I told her, you know, that you know, God took Quanah and Skyland, but he left us here because our job's not done. You know, there's something in life we've got to continue to do. There's other people in our life that depend on us. And if he'd have took us, what would have happened to all these other people that depend on us? And so that's why we were left here. And so, so I had to figure out what that was. I had to figure out, you know, I took my setback, and like I said, I would sit and cry, feel bad, but then I'd get up and you know, my wife who needs me, my other children need me, my nieces and nephews need me, and that was to help me to get back up, you know, get back up and quit feeling sorry for myself, quit crying about it. one thing that my wife told me when I was struggling, having a hard time, she told me, you know, look at it this way, is that the Lord promises us eternity when we get to heaven, that we're all going to be together forever. And she said, so instead of looking at it as like, man, you know, I haven't been able to hug my boys for 6 months, look at it as every day is a day closer to being with your boys again. Every day is a day closer to seeing them again. And then when you get to see them again, you'll get to see them for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of changed my outlook on it. It's like, man, instead of feeling so bad and feeling so sad, you know, look at, man, tomorrow's a day closer. Today, I'm one day closer. And it really helped me to kind of get out of that poor me,
mm-hmm.
you know, and you can get in that poor me, you know, feeling down, and pretty soon it's hard to get out of that. You know, everything's against me, everybody, but that helped me to get out of that and shake it off and look at, you know, every day's a day closer. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate your words. I think we all do. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming, and I hope you have a good rest of your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.